to make it sound like, could you get me more coffee? It sounds more emphatic than if we said, I wonder if you would get me some more coffee. You see, it's a nicer way of speaking to other people, because they could say, well, I don't care if you're wondering or not, you know. Indirect and direct questions. And oftentimes we will use, you know, words like why, what, how, where, when to introduce questions. So here's some examples of a direct question and an indirect question. Oh, you know what it is? The air conditioner is dripping. Yeah. Okay. You can see that okay, can't you? Why is she late for dinner? That's a direct question. I wonder why she is late for dinner. That's an indirect question. You see how it sounds differently? There is a different intent. It's not as forceful. It's not as forceful. How do you get to the Rio Monte? I would like to know how to get to the Rio Monte. So if I asked you, how do I get to the Rio Monte? Unless you want to be rude to me, you would have no choice but to tell me how to get there, right? But if I said, I wonder how to get to the Rio Monte, what I'm doing is inviting you to tell me. It's not a direct way of asking. It's like an invitation. You know, I would like to know, and maybe, you know, would you let me know? It's just a polite way of doing it. Where did Patrick go? Direct question. Can you tell me where Patrick went? Indirect. What time will we leave? That's direct. Please tell me the time that we will be leaving. Indirect. So do you get the idea? Direct, indirect. So there are some clauses that we often use to turn a direct question into an indirect question. Things like, I don't know, tell me, can you tell me, do you know, I wonder. Those are the ways that we can turn a direct question into an indirect question. So, think you understand? Well, let's practice it. Over in this book, number 4, and it would be page 34. Page 34. I'm going to finish my coffee so I can ask you indirectly if you can get me coffee. So, page 34, I'm going to do the first one. I'm going to do the first one, and then we'll take turns with the ones after that. So, number 1, the direct question is, what is the student's name? But the way we could do that indirectly is to say, page 34 on this one. The way we could do that indirectly is to say, do you know what the student's name is? Do you see how that's different? The direct way of saying it is, do you know, is what is the student's name? That's a direct question. But I'm going to turn it into an indirect question. Do you know what the student's name is? So this will challenge us a little bit. This will challenge us a little bit. So don't be, you know, afraid if it's hard for you or if you make a mistake. We'll work on it, because what we're doing is we're learning a new part of the language. So let's see, Nat, it would be your turn to do number 2. What I'd like you to do is to read the direct question and then turn it into an indirect question.
Number 2, what car did she miss A. Can you please tell me what class she needs to?
That's correct. Now, what she did is we're using the introductory phrase, can you tell me? And we had to change the verb from present tense to past tense in order to do that. So we looked at number 2. The direct question was, what class did she miss? Turning that into an indirect question, we said, can you please tell me what class she missed? Okay? So, number 3. You want to try number 3?
Why did she make the rule? I would like to know what the
Why?
What does he do?
That's correct. That's correct. The direct question is, why did she break the rules? Now, to turn that into an indirect question, we're going to have to change the tense. I would like to know why she broke the rules. And that's a less forceful way of asking the question. We're being a little bit more, it sounds a little bit more understanding to ask it that way. So we're to number 4. Okay, would you try number 4, please?
I wonder when she and her friend left the school.
That's correct. The direct question is, when did she and her friend leave school? Now, to turn that into an indirect question, I wonder when she and her friend left school. Okay, really good. I'm sorry, did you have a question there?
Teacher, can you say like this? I wonder when they left the school.
You could say that. I wonder when they left the school. Yeah, if you wanted to just change she and her friend to they, that would work. You would need, in order to do that, you would need context before the sentence so that people knew who they stood for. You know, anytime you use a pronoun, it's standing for a noun. And so, you know, if you're speaking to someone in conversation and you use a pronoun, then you need to make sure that that person you're speaking to understands who the pronoun stands for. Let's see, we would be at number 5, correct, Tim? Yes, so can you do number 5?
I want to know what they did at the mall.
Yeah, the direct question is, what did they do at the mall? And then the indirect way of saying that is, I want to know what they did at the mall. What they did at the mall. Do you know what a mall is? It's a shopping mall. It's like here you say mostly centers, shopping centers. But a mall is just a big shopping center. Big shopping center. And it's usually indoors. You know, all of the stores are indoors at a mall. Not always, but usually. Let's see. Toy, you would be at number 6. You're at number 6.
What was last punishment? Can you please tell me what last punishment was?
That's correct. We just changed the order of the sentence around a little bit. Okay. You got it. I think you have it. And the difference between direct speech and indirect speech is that it is less emphatic. And when you're asking questions, it sounds a little bit more polite. You're not being as demanding, you know. For example, if right now you're thinking when we're going to be taking our break, and you were to ask me, when is our break? That would be a direct question. But if you wanted to be sort of like, you know, not quite so direct, you could say, teacher, could you please tell me when we might be taking a break? You see how in one way you're being very direct. We would call that being very assertive. Do you know what I mean by assertive? Assertive. A direct question is very assertive. When will we be taking a break? That's assertive. I wonder if you could tell us when we will be taking a break. That's indirect. And it would sound, it would be understood as more polite way of saying something. And so when you're asking a question of someone that you want to be polite to, for example, at a restaurant with a server, or at a